the Justice Department, FTC, Department of Justice, cracking down on big tech is absolutely paralyzing the big startup world. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host, and I'm joined by Gary Voigt, per usual. But we have no guest today. Hello, Gary.
No guests, just us.
You scared them all off today, did you?
Finally got rid of these clowns, really.
We've had some very good guests. Do not disparage them.
I'm actually...
Not all of them. Recently,
I miss not having a guest. They've learned a lot lately. A lot of good.
There have been some really good guests recently. I will certainly say that. And I shouldn't say we've had a lot of good guests over the. How many guests have we had? We're almost to 100. Crazy.
I think we're about 100, but just lately, the last few have been really good.
Yeah, last 10 or 15.
It just seems like we've been on a streak, and so now they ditched us today.
That's right. Yep. But she'll come back. She's coming back. She's already rescheduled, so we'll chat with her later. So what do you want to talk about today? The worst way to start every conversation.
Let's talk about how AI kind of sucks. Gets in your way instead of helping you more often than not. Unless your job depends on you using AI, or if you're one of those prompt masters and you're paying 18 different companies for their AI subscription.
The best use of AI that I have seen from a job changing perspective, like they truly changing their world perspective. It's a news organization and they have a news site, but they're also everywhere, right? This is a big, big TV station and they write articles for their website and they'll write 500 words for their website. And then they'll use AI to rewrite it in 200 words for Facebook. And they'll have a human editor, right? And then they'll take the 500 words and they'll say, rewrite this as a tweet. 140 characters.
That makes perfect sense.
And
especially since it's going to be training off the language of the journalists that are actually writing this stuff.
Yeah, so they wrote the real post.
Hallucinate too much.
And then they're asking it to paraphrase. And now the humans involved at every level so that it's not just posted out there. They're editing it. But the guy said
vital parts being missed or anything like that.
Yeah, he said it would take 45 minutes to typically, after the article is written, to convert it to various formats and edit it and make sure it was right. About 45 minutes. He says now it takes 5. So that's transformational for that organization. But I don't know of any other examples where everybody's, AI really just changed my life. Most of them, if you use any stuff, we were talking before the show started, how many people are using some sort of online software and now there's a glowy button in a corner somewhere, little
sparkling stars,
trying to get you to sign up for their version of AI. We've got it in ClickUp. We got it in Slack. I've got it in Gmail. I've got one.
And you can't
Figma
really
has
avoid
one,
it.
right? Does
I'm
Figma
looking
have
at
one?
the screen right now. Figma did have one.
Okay.
But then they took it away for a little bit. Didn't work out so well.
Didn't do so well. To be fair, AI, as opposed to most of the things that they write, there's an ongoing cost, right?
Yes.
Which is not cheap if you've not used it before. So we're using it all the time for clients trying to research it. We're mainly still in the research phase, but we have a couple of promising apps that we're thinking of building. But just playing with it for a few hours, I'll spend $10. That's just me. You running queries and blah, blah, blah. $10 in 2 hours. To put that at scale, dude, that's crazy money.
Yeah. So you're saying that's what it would cost the company that's giving you the AI to play with.
Correct. That's what the developer who's using AI, and that's what ChatGPT or Anthropic or whoever they're using is charging them. It was $10 for 2 hours worth of. Now I was heavily using it. Don't get me wrong. We were processing queries all over the place, but still that stuff, you want to summarize a Slack thread, for instance, that's one of the things. That's a query to their API call. So imagine you're doing that 100 times a day. It's costing them real money. So they're trying to, that's why they have such a high price tag. They're trying to say, we know you're probably going to cost us $5 or $10. We got to make some money. So now it's $20. I don't know. You start adding it all up, it would be an extra $100 a month for us to bring all of that stuff into the stuff we live on as Bix.
And the other thing that's weird is like when ChatGPT first started and you were paying a subscription for ChatGPT as your standalone AI product, and then every other app has it baked in. So then it's additional fees, but they're just going back out the ChatGPT anyway.
Yeah. If I were to recommend anything, AI is neat. Don't get me wrong. It's got some very cool stuff, but why don't you just go to Claude or ChatGPT and just pay for their pro, and you can do everything these other apps are bringing in. You really can. Not.
You would just have to change screens or change windows. That's all.
It's not quite as altogether, but we've been playing around with. I challenged Scott, one of our lead devs. Time you want to do a Google search, go to Perplexity. That's really interesting because he originally challenged me to go to ChatGPT. Hey, next time you have a Google query, go to ChatGPT instead. Okay. That was neat. Good experience. So I said, all right, flip it. Now go to Perplexity. Perplexity is the first AI search engine. So it's pretty neat. Now there are times I still miss Google. Sometimes if I'm just tooling around, I'm researching something, I don't really know. I don't want an answer. I want to read. These AI tools are horrible.
Unless you're requesting a summary of something gigantic.
Yeah. If you want an answer, they're great. Perplexity is great. Arc is great. Here's an answer to your question. If you're just wanting to research a video game, which is something I do.
Okay. If
I'm researching a car, I want to read Car and Driver. I want to read Motor Trend. I want to go to Road and Track. I want to read what they say about this car. I want their stuff. Okay. And getting from the AI to their stuff can be tricky. It's just extra clicks and whatever. So if you're researching, it's not a great tool. But if you want, I need an answer. What is such and such? The only thing, I feel like I'm poo-pooing on it, and I don't mean to, because I really do enjoy it. We've built some really neat stuff while we're learning things and trying to figure out things. What I want to make sure of is you should never forget that it will lie to you. Our rule when we're building it for our clients, we have 2 rules that I've tasked the team with. I want you to minimize lying. You can't get rid of it, but I want to absolutely, as much as you can, minimize it. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, you cannot touch our clients' data directly. No giving access to the database. Well, I don't trust it yet. I don't trust, this is like conspiracy theory, like we didn't land on the moon kind of stuff, but I am not convinced that OpenAI as a company is a good company.
Yeah.
I think they are scuzzy. I think that, what's his name? Fell out of my head. Sam Altman. I think he is the Mark Zuckerberg of this age, which means, and I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg before he was the karate surfer dude that he is now that everyone thinks is so cool. I'm talking about the guy who would sell your privacy for 4 cents. He did it over and over again. I think Sam Altman's the same way. He will do whatever it takes to get ahead. And then when he gets old, my age, he will be super chill and cool. Bill Gates pioneered
this. It's like Jack from the original Twitter. What was his name? Jack something. I forget his name.
Yeah, Jack. Yes, I know who you're talking about. Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey. Yep. Yeah. When I said, I was going to say at the beginning when I said AI sucks, I didn't mean the actual technology of AI. What I meant was the nonstop bombardment of in-your-face sparkly stars of every app that you use trying to get you to upgrade to AI, and then realizing that it's not really as helpful in that circumstance. There's nothing groundbreaking in that app that you need AI to do for $10 a month. But it's a great 100%. Technology. It's just way oversold.
I just don't trust it yet. So what we do is, if we are working for our clients, is we will take a chunk of data out of the database, give a sanitized version of whatever we think is okay to share.
Yeah.
That is what OpenAI can look at, or whichever one we're using.
So you're basically making small libraries from the train on pre-washed data that's not going to be
and
of any threat
because
to the company.
You can make it write queries. Like it makes up its own queries to talk to your database. That's wild, man. It will say, I need to know, perfect example. So we were playing with the customer data, and on purpose, our guy, his name's Matt. He's amazing. He's doing all of our AI research for us right now. He made it so it's very verbose in its logging. So it talks a lot just so he can watch it learn. Yeah. And you will see it. He'll say, give me the address, or give me the 10 customers who live in Virginia, for instance. And you will see it reasoning through, which is so wild. It'll say, the customer table does not have a state field. So I'm going to go look at the schema to find, oh, here, this meta table over here has a state that's connected to this. It's writing all this out. You see it thinking.
That's pretty cool.
And then it goes to that other table, writes another query to that table, and then says, here are the 10 customers in Virginia or wherever you're answering. Now, of course, you would show that to the end client, right? But to see that it's reasoning itself on what queries as I didn't tell it what query to and how to get it. It went and figured it out. That is wild. Yeah. Now, there's nothing to say that there's not some secret thing that I don't know about. Again, put on my tinfoil hat here, that they're not scraping all of our data for their own usage. That's what I don't like. That's what I don't know. That's what I don't trust. Because if I'm writing custom functions, so are they. And that's, again, probably I'm overreaching, but I want to protect my client's data. So that's the rule we're doing. And I think anybody who is playing with that should probably follow something similar. But anyway, it is very cool. And it can do. And the other challenge I have to my team when we're doing our research is how do you get beyond the chatbot? The chatbot, that's done, man. We've done it. What can we do that just chatting with thing isn't the be all end all, right? Let's go beyond that. That's the other challenge.
Big Pixel builds world-class custom software and amazing apps. Our team of pros puts passion into every one of our projects. Our design-infused development leans heavily on delivering a great experience for our clients and their clients. From startups to enterprises, we can help craft your ideas into real-world products that help your business do better business.
I have a question. It's a topic. We were talking about AI, how startups are trying to use it in everything that they have, but the startup space itself, we went through a period where startups were booming, then it plateaued, and then it disappeared as far as people getting investment money and coming up with ideas to try to build the next big app. But it seems like it's slowly coming back in smaller areas. I know you've noticed, I wouldn't say a resurgence, but it's becoming a little bit more common now that some of these smaller companies are getting investment funds for startups, or at least looking into creating a new business or startup.
It's on the podcast and talking to people and stuff around the news. There are two factors happening right now on the startup side. On one side, you have AI, like we've been talking about. If you don't have the word AI or you're saying you're using AI, then people don't want to talk to you. That's true. I don't think it's right, but it's true. But the other side that we haven't really talked about is the Justice Department, FTC, Department of Justice, cracking down on big tech is absolutely paralyzing the big startup world. What I mean by that is it has been the go-to path to build a startup, build a feature, build something that one of the big boys would want to buy. Google buys it, Meta buys it, Apple buys it, Microsoft buys it, 5, 10 different companies who just bought everything. That has been the go-to for 10 to 15 years because they didn't care, right? The government never, antitrust was not a thing. It is a thing now, man. Google just last week was labeled a monopolist. That's going to have reverberating massive implications in the next, now it's got a long way to go. But when that all gets laid down, this is Microsoft from 20 years ago. And if you're younger than I am, you probably don't even remember that. That changed the world. It opened the door for the web as we know it now, because Microsoft was told to stop. If you go back before they were sued, you had Internet Explorer, which was all proprietary, and the web was in a box that Microsoft owned. Flat out.
And back then, they wouldn't even let you put different browsers on their machines.
Nope. They absolutely prevented it. And that's why they got in trouble. But even Apple, if you walk that back, Apple exploded for the second time with the first iMac, big, pretty one, big bubble with colors. Their shtick was, it was the easiest way to get on the web. Why? Because they were allowed to come out with Safari, and Safari wasn't in this box. The box was now open because they got sued to death. Voila, you didn't have to build websites that only worked on IE6. Okay?
Right.
Change the world. That level of change is about to happen with Google. Give it a few years because they got to shake it all down. Google has defined the web for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, something like that.
Anyway, what do you think is going to be first noticeable difference? Like we're already seeing other browsers being built by companies, like the Arc browser is gaining a lot of traction and stuff like that. But but that's again built on Chromium because
that's built on Chromium.
Basically Google Chrome, and Google is the backbone of that. But are you thinking more of these search engine companies popping up? Or do you think
search engine companies will now be allowed to fight
online software? Because Google also, between their calendar, Google Drive, Google Docs, all that stuff, like you get into their ecosystem and it's all there for you. So do you think that's going to be affected as well?
No, because that's small potatoes from a Google perspective. What I would say is, again, I don't know. I'm putting on a crystal ball or whatever analogy I'm coming up with.
Just two dudes talking, man.
Was that just two dudes talking?
I said just two dudes talking. We're not experts. We're just talking.
What I would say is the biggest change is Apple's no longer going to get $20 billion a year to make Google do their thing. That's going to be verboten. And if nothing else if that deal isn't completely killed, the little caveat that says, and you cannot build a search engine will go away. And now Apple, being Apple, will be able
build
to
their own search engine.
And it won't be a search engine like you're not going to go to apple.com and search. That's not what's going to happen. But Siri's going to get a lot better.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of ancillary products that have been hamstrung because they've not been allowed to wander down these paths, because here's a $20 billion check, which in Apple's world, that's pure profit.
Yeah.
It's literally free money. So their profit margins just dropped dramatically. $20 billion, even if you're Apple. I think they make, I don't know. I could be wrong. I think it's something like $100 billion in profit a year, which is so staggering. But that's 20% of that just gone. That's a huge paycheck that they're going to most likely lose, or it'll change dramatically. So I think Apple is going to come out differently. I think you're going to see a lot of startups in the searchy space.
Yeah.
I think that's going to start to get exciting again. And you're already seeing that again with what you're talking about. But you also got the AI guys like Perplexity and stuff like that, who's saying, we're going to change search completely. What I think, and you'll never know this, but what you would have seen, I think, if Google had not been slapped, is all of this AI, Perplexity, search engine stuff. Google would have done what Google does and it completely annihilated all of that and absorbed it into Google.
Yeah, they would just bought it, and
they would have bought it.
Google's now.
This bothers me. So Google just, and this is just an example. A lot of companies are doing this. Google just bought character.ai, but they didn't buy it because they're not allowed to buy it because that would bring up antitrust. So what they did instead was they paid them $2.5 billion. The company is still there. They just acqui-hired everyone who worked there. So they didn't buy the company. They literally just stole its heart. And that they can't fight with antitrust because they didn't buy a company. You can't stop me. All I did was hire all their people and get an exclusive license to their tech. Dude, it is so scuzzy. So scary. And Google's not the only one who does this. They all do this.
Yeah.
But this, because now the startups have been
what venture capitalist firms do with any business, not tech business, but any.
You're talking about business. Private equity or venture capital?
Am I getting it wrong? Whatever the bigger companies that buy up, do the mergers.
They buy up all your dental offices and stuff. Yeah. That's private equity. Yeah.
Okay.
Venture capitalists know what's funny about them is they're fighting hard against all this government push. You're being anti-competitive and you're killing the startups of the future. Man, you're just, because they're like, you're preventing them from getting bought, which is an exit strategy for them.
Yeah, I was going to say
Andreessen Horowitz gets a big check every time that happens.
That's literally the opposite of what they're doing.
It's so funny. But I do think that reverberation of Google getting labeled a monopolist, and they're not done yet. Apple's on the chopping block right now. That hasn't happened yet. But
for the App Store and stuff.
Yeah, they're still kind of government's coming at them.
Europe won that one.
Yeah, and Google's lost two. They lost Epic a while back. Apple won that one, but Google lost it. Same trial. And Google now just got labeled a monopolist. It's going to change our world. And I think it's going to be very exciting. I love that stuff because, again, going back to Microsoft got slapped. Google was born. You can almost draw a straight line.
Yeah.
So Google gets slapped. Who gets born? Someone's going to get born because of this. What exciting, cool. Think of our world without Google. It would be dramatically different. And so someone is going to be able to become the next Google, the next Facebook, whatever, because of this lawsuit.
And from a user's perspective, that someone who doesn't really care about who's getting slapped with what, they're just using their computers every day. Like Google, I'd say, again, showing my age, 10, 15 years ago was much different than Google now, because now it's just nonstop ads and lists and suggested searches. Like you can't find what you're looking for unless you're very specific and take a long time. So the AI assisted searches, like the stuff from Arc, the Arc browser, their mobile app, the Arc browser mobile, where you can just speak to it and it searches using AI. You're like, browse for me, that app. I think that's where we're headed for other browsers, to go into the more personality-based searches after they learn a little bit about you. It won't be suggested ads that you're getting results for, but it'll be it'll give you the results and then some suggested results that they think you might be interested in more, but results instead of just ads for products.
The problem with a lot of those, like Arc and the like, is they don't know who you are.
They train after a while, but at the same time.
To a point. But if imagine, and you don't have to imagine, it's going to happen soon in the next year. When Apple turns on all their intelligence, they know exactly who you are. They know everything, all your contacts. They know you at a very deep level. Google does too. Probably those two companies the most, because they also have the phone stuff. But when they turn on their AIs and they get really good at it, this first version of Apple Intelligence is probably going to be super. But when they get good at it and they can say, hey, remind me when my anniversary is so I can buy my wife's favorite gift. They know how to connect the dots. Your wife is Deborah. She loves chocolate. Here's a cool chocolate thing. I'll buy that for you. That's all going to happen in the next few years. And you didn't even say her name. You can't do that with Arc. I think Arc's going to be, I love Arc. Don't get me wrong.
No, but I'm just saying
everywhere. It's going to die.
It's a progression in that they're seeming to step in that more progressive direction instead of just getting away from straight Google searches.
If you haven't used the Arc browser, you absolutely should, especially if you're on a Mac or an iPhone.
Yeah.
On Windows, but I don't know what's up with my sound effects today, but I'm just feeling sound effects. That's like the third time I've done that. Anyway.
Look, man, I just want to scroll through Instagram and not see an ad for an office chair, because I was looking up office chairs literally about a month and a half ago, and now every other post is office chairs.
I will be excited.
It's just way too much.
When they figure out how to make the ad stop because they know you purchased it.
We could be like, I already bought one. Stop.
Yeah. I just wish you could do that because,
you could press, I don't want to see this ad anymore, no longer relevant, but it doesn't stop. It never stops.
No. And that just stops that ad. You still got 30 others coming right down the pipe. But Arc, I think, is going to be one of those examples of a company that really has a unique and valuable idea that gets gobbled up by everybody else and you never hear about Arc again. That's my thought. Because it's a really good idea. And if you the first time you use it, you're like, especially on your phone, and it does the browse for me thing, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I've never seen this before. In 5 years, everyone's going to do that. Yeah. It's just going to be normal. And then Arc's going to go away. Or they'll become Mozilla and no one cares. Right?
And hear me out.
Okay.
Right. They'll have a more advanced AI search, but they're going to rebrand themselves as Ask Jeeves 2.0.
Oh my gosh. You talk about showing your age, man. Dude. Oh, wow. You're going to open your Yahoo Mail? Oh, man. That's brutal. I heard an interesting thing on The Verge the other day. Going back to Google for a second. They were talking about the lawsuit and all that. And they said, here's something that most people don't know. Verizon owned Yahoo for a while. That's well known. But there was a time when Verizon made a decision. Do we put Yahoo as our default search engine, right? This is a long time ago. Yahoo was the number one search engine in the world at the time, or it was up there. Or do we take this check that Google is offering us and make Google the default search? They took the money from Google. They
against
owned
their
Yahoo.
Own company?
Yes, they owned Yahoo. They owned that search engine, and they still took Google's check. That's all you need to know.
And look at Yahoo now. It's just a crappy weather app.
It's strange to me that I still see Yahoo emails.
I still see AOL emails.
Oh yeah. Yahoo is so bad though. I do know this as a developer. SendGrid and stuff, when we send emails, that's one of the big email providers, often will not allow you to accept emails from Yahoo because there's so much spam and trash. Just that domain is so destroyed. So the problem with that is if you have a Yahoo email and you try to log into some of these software as a service, you start to get real problems because a lot of times they won't let you in because they think you're a bot by default. I've used this metaphor before. To me, AI is very similar to the path we followed with the self-driving cars.
Yeah.
We got 80% of the way there really fast. And everyone was like, we're all going to be driving these cars in 5 years and there's going to be amazing. And they don't exist in any real way. I know Waymo's out there and this and the other, but generally speaking, we all still drive our cars. And that last 5-10% is so hard that people are like, I don't know if we're ever going to solve that.
Yeah.
And I think AI is the same thing. To get that last 10% where it's, man, I'd use this every single day. I'm not sure LLMs, the way they can, the generative AI technology, I don't think it can get us there. That's just my, it's very useful. And there's going to be a lot of cool things we're going to be able to do with it. But is it ever going to be exactly what they think? I don't think it's going to get there.
Yeah. A lot of cool things we can do with it. Like your car analogy is perfect. Like on the path of getting to a self-driving car. Now every car has got like way better safety features, way better camera tech, way better like passenger stay in your lane tech, stuff like that. Yep. So we're benefiting from it. We're just definitely not going to get to the point where I think it's still going to be assistive for a long time instead of.
And I think that's I think this LLM
it's probably safer that way.
Yeah, I like driving, but I think
I mean, just about driving in general. Still,
I mean, the AGI stuff. Safer. You talk about not safe. Artificial general intelligence. That's what they're all aiming for, and that's what OpenAI is searching for, quote unquote. But I don't think that the LLM technology, the generative AI stuff is a path there. I think it's going to stop, and to get to that is going to require a whole new technology that no one knows how to do yet. And I think that's a very far away. That's my little crystal ball. I don't think we're anywhere close to it, even though right now the hype, all the money that goes into AI is saying it's right there. We are a year or two away from artificial general intelligence. And so they're worth billions of dollars, right? They're getting these huge valuations, not evaluation. They're getting these huge numbers because of what they think is on the horizon, just like Tesla right now. For years and years, it wasn't a car company. It was a tech company that was going to make robots. It was going to make brain stuff, and your cars were all going to drive themselves. And now, 10 years later, we're realizing Tesla's just a car company. And all these other things that they says there's going to be, it's not real. Not really. And now you see their stock just tanking because they're a car company, not a magic invention company. I think OpenAI is going to go through the same thing. All right, I'm done. I've said all my stuff. Would you like to add anything else to finish up, Mr. Gary? He looks deep.
No, this was a fun episode.
We have our moments.
We didn't have to deviate from our tangents. We just went on one giant tangent. So
one huge tangent. That's all this was. One big
Pretty
tangent.
Fun, though.
All righty, y'all. If you want to hear more tangents, we'll be back next week. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm Christy Pronto, Content Marketing Director here at Big Pixel. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Biz Dev Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email, hello@thebigpixel.net. The Biz Dev Podcast is produced and presented by Big Pixel. See you next week. Until then, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and LinkedIn.